Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of the Visible Workplace. My name is Tom Rowley and it's been a pretty good week. I wanted to share some cool stuff with you. Well, the first thing off the bat, hey, it was my birthday. I turned 47 years old. And I was having a conversation with two different friends. And there was an interesting thing that came up. It's like, hey, life's going okay. Life's going well. And that is not the case for many people. But for me, it is. And it's not to say that it's just been easy and handed to me on a silver platter. But right now, overall, my life is not exceptional. There are certainly many men who are ahead of me. But there's also a lot of people that are struggling, that are suffering. And so just having that opportunity to reflect on where I am, that at 47, it feels like it's just been a blink of an eye that I was 21, 28, 35, 41, and now 47, just like that. My kids are growing up and I got a great relationship with them. I received 2 birthday cards, one from my wife saying thank you, and one from my kids also saying thank you. And what was interesting and what I want to share with you was that what my children were grateful for was not more stuff. It wasn't more better stuff. It was time together, particularly doing things that made their day. Going surfing, playing basketball, jumping on the trampoline. My daughter, she's 10. She said, Dad, thank you so much for jumping on the trampoline with me. 15 minutes out of my day. 15 minutes of jumping with my daughter, and she was so happy. And what I took from that was that there is a cost to poor project management, poor time management. And that is that as people, as parents, we can work too much. Not work too much in the sense of, hey, I'm working hard, but rather that if we don't do the work in a good way, that work that has to be redone or it's done incorrectly and it has to be redone that leaves us working long hours, there is a direct impact on that. And that is that we don't get to have those moments with our kids, with my kid. I don't get to have moments with my kids that they appreciate, that they want to do, and I'm involved in it. And if I'm at work until 9:30 p.m., then that doesn't happen. And I've also been trained. I've been blessed enough to go through the Wake Up Warrior program. They're like, hey, why don't you tell people that you appreciate them? Why don't you tell people that you're grateful for them? Why don't you tell people that they make a difference in your world? And so I do this regularly, but that's not what made the difference. That is part of it for sure. That means that I get to have an opinion in my kids' life. They're willing to listen. I'm like, thank you. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. I'm proud of you. Well done. Well done on when it went badly. I'm grateful that you did it, and let's go again. But that's not what stuck. What stuck was the time together. And so getting project management dialed in, not having to redo work, not getting behind and being stressed out, finishing things on time because we're doing the right work in the right order, and everything gets done properly the first time, has an impact on our lives. So that's why I'm kind of passionate. Not kind of passionate, I'm passionate about project management to get results. It's not so easy. Not so easy, this project management stuff. We have so many amazing tools, and yet it's still not quite working. And so the second thing I wanted to share with you was that we're approaching MVP on Magic Boards. Magic Boards is software that integrates project management with the SOPs in one design. You get to have the instructions and the results. That these are a way of having a repeatable, trackable list of processes, creating a trackable list of results all-in-one software. And when you go to run a board, you click a button, and it duplicates all of the processes ready to go so you can track them. And it duplicates all the results ready to go. And it does that for templates too. And we are 4 months into this build. Now, 4 months in software, if you haven't tried to build software before, then that might sound like an enormous amount of time. But in software, I got told early on by a friend of mine who'd been in the game for a long time. He's like, oh, you're building software? Well, know before you begin that it's going to take twice as long and cost twice as much, sometimes 3 times. I'm like, what? And he's like, absolutely. Very unusual to come in on time and on budget. And yet our budget for this was 5 months, and we are coming into the end of the 4th month. And I will sign off on MVP tomorrow. And it's got a couple of cool things. Is it perfect? No, absolutely not. It's an MVP. It's a minimum viable product. It's got some things that could be done better. It's missing search on a couple of screens. It's missing some buttons that would be really helpful. But the overall idea is highly testable. And I've been using it for about 2 weeks. It's been great. It's like, oh, this is really cool. This is something that was 80% possible on project management systems like Asana or Monday or ClickUp, but only 80%. They're not really built for duplication. A lot of them are built for set up the board however you want it and then use it. And magic boards can do that too. But in terms of production, in terms of being able to hit run and it duplicates everything, it's like an item going along a production line, like a Model T Ford. And each time we run it is a new Model T going along, Model T going along, Model T going along. And in a modern business that's dealing with virtual or computer work a lot, this is not so easy. We are evolved for a physical world. And as we have rapidly accelerated into the use of computers over the last, what are we looking at? Maybe 40 years. That is just a speck in time for the evolution of human beings. Estimated perhaps 200,000 years for us to evolve. And these computers have shown up in 40 years, and in the last 10 have rapidly evolved further. So we've got this challenge of what to do, how to do it. And Magic Boards getting to MVP on time is significant. And what happened for me was very interesting. I had this experience where I sent an email to my team, and what came back, it was a request, hey, can you run this webinar, which was up on YouTube, through the transcription service? And I was expecting an email back, but what I got back was a magic board. And so I logged in the morning, and there, ready, is the transcription, but it's held in the magic board. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. Instead of getting lost in my emails, this was ready to go. I opened it up and I was like reading it. I'm like, geez, there's still a fair bit. It was a 90-minute webinar. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to drop this in and get ChatGPT to summarize it, but it couldn't. It was on ChatGPT 3.5 and it couldn't, it ran out. It's like too big. So I went across to Copilot and I put it in there. I was like, well, Copilot do it, and Copilot did do it. And it was like, here's the summary points. Here's the 10 points that were covered in this webinar. I was like, oh, that's cool. But what I want you to catch what happened next. So I then added that step into the magic board and I saved it as a template so that next time around when I ask for something to be transcribed, I get the full transcription and I get the summary using Copilot, because we created that system and updated it and then saved it back to the library. And that sounds like, perhaps when you first hear that, oh my goodness, what's going on? But really, all it is we make a copy of the default template. And if that template gets improved, I want to update the template so next time around I use the better and improved version. This has been very difficult with traditional project management systems. Even really powerful ones. It's like, oh my goodness, very difficult to make because the changes get made when it's being used, but then you've got to remember to go back and update the template, which after a while people forget doing. They forget to do it. They're like, just got to move on to my next task. And so when we come around to run the system again, it's the old one. And that's assuming that you actually have this stuff going on and people just aren't trying to work it out all the time. Forgetting things. Asking for information that they already have. When I was selling a house, I got asked for information twice. And it may seem very small. And overall, these guys were great. Absolutely did a fantastic job selling my house. Very happy. But there was a moment where they requested the same document twice, and the impact was a lack of trust. It was like, ooh, okay, you guys dropped the ball here. Where else are you dropping it? And it was all fine. Everything went fine, but it was just a small thing. And that happens when we make mistakes, when our businesses make mistakes. And it's not to say that we shouldn't make mistakes. That's not what I'm saying. But when the same mistake keeps happening over and over, or different mistakes keep happening over and over that were corrections for the first one, then we've got a problem. There are going to be mistakes, but it's much better if they are intentional. That I'm trying to learn and try something new. If we have a proven way of doing things and that wasn't followed, that's a very different problem than, I don't know if this is going to work. Let's try it out and see what happens. Oh, it didn't work. That's a mistake in inverted commas, but not really. It's a learning. Very different situation to, hey, we know that this works. The steps just didn't get done. But this MVP for Magic Boards is working. It's exciting. And one of the cool things for me has been the amount of feedback that I've generated just by using it. As I jumped in and started seeing opportunities within this thing. Oh, we could have this, we could have this, we could have this, we could have this. And one of the problems I ran into was, well, where do I stop here? And so I called up the team from Momentum Group in Sydney. And I was like, hey, can I jump on a call to talk about where we draw the line for the MVP? And we had a great call, and there was a decision made that yes, installable systems should be in. Installable systems means that I can go through and create working boards off materials that have been proven, particularly if they've been put in books by people who've spent a lot of time and effort mastering this, written it all down, and then if we can get that into the Magic Boards, and then you just click a button and it installs it into your copy. This, to me, is as close to swipe the credit card and get the six-pack as I can imagine. We can't do the swipe the credit card and get the six-pack, but you can swipe the credit card and get the working boards that are required to run a business across marketing and sales and advertising and fulfillment, across optics and people and accounting and legal and insurance and cash. And that these have been worked out. People have proven systems or boards or frameworks, whatever you want to call them. Do this, do this, do this, and you will get this result and this result. And they kindly give webinars on them, kindly produce videos on them, kindly put them in books and say, hey, go and use this. And then there's this giant disconnect between knowing and the ability to execute. And Magic Boards was designed to stop that, end that problem and say, no, hey, they already worked it out. There are some genius people that have worked out what works. And yet our success rate for people taking courses and getting coaching and taking learning, is very small. because of this problem. The ability to get the steps and track where we're up to and execute them consistently is relatively poor. The ability to do this is not an easy skill set. And I actually tried it out with spreadsheets and documents, but even then there was too many things to copy. And I was like, we've got to go to software. We've got to go to software. And at the time, I didn't know about no code. Because you might be wondering, well, how is it that if the standard in software development is it takes twice as long and it takes twice as much cash, how is it that you are a month ahead of schedule on your MVP? And there's two things. One is no code. This program called Bubble, it's one of several no code, but essentially somebody went along and went, you know what? Why don't we make the code in the background, stick it on a button or stick it on an instruction that is in human language? Now, I didn't want to learn it. I'm a doctor. I'm like, you know what? I already know how to treat people. I know how to diagnose people. I do not wish to learn Bubble. But people are excellent at this stuff. Or some people are. I was like, okay, well, let's just pay them. So I took a bank loan and I went, okay, guys, I'm one more. Let's go one more time here. And what I chose to do is to use people who are very good. People who know what they're doing. People who can troubleshoot, that can see different things. And so I went Australian. I'm Australian. I was like, all right, how many Bubble devs are there in Australia? There's not that many. Momentum clearly leads the group. They were the only ones back when I was choosing. And one of the requirements, the reason for that was that I was going for grants. And one of the requirements was from the New South Wales government that it had to be a New South Wales Bubble developer. And so I looked up Bubble devs in Australia, and there's like 4, one of which was in New South Wales. And so I went with Momentum Group. Now, I'd already tried overseas stuff before, and there's no doubt that it has its place. That I have another project running on Fiverr right now. It's been very, very good. Essentially, that one is like, hey, enter these templates and make the database work. And my team's been great there. But building magic boards is a difficult challenge. It's technically easy, but conceptually challenging. All sorts of little gotchas about when things copy. And that's what the software is designed to get rid of. So humans don't have to do it, but the team has to be able to handle those when we go through there. And they've done a wonderful job. So we are approaching MVP. I'm getting it out to people, getting feedback. There's been a couple of people like, I don't get it at all. And there's other people like, oh, this is sweet. This is sweet. This is awesome. I'm liking this. And I've been using it myself, particularly in one case that's been great, which is tracking the feedback for the actual software. You know that the software is in reasonable condition if we can track the feedback for the software in the software itself. I have seen episodes of people where this has not been the case. They're trying to use the software to do something and it doesn't work. It's very frustrating. But Magic Boards, we've got the feedback coming in, and I've got a section for feedback where it's not been a decision made about it. Here it is. Here's the raw feedback. And then some of them are duplicates and get deleted. So some of them need discussion. Some of them are, this is definitely an awesome idea, but we can't execute. So that goes in a hold. And then there's a list of sprints to come. So sprints are these episodes, these time frames where certain things get done in the software. And so lining them up, making decisions about what should be done next. There's a lot of things that we can do. I think there's right now like 16 in hold, and then there's like already maybe, 14 that could be done. But being able to drag them around and say, this is more important, this is less important, this should be done sooner, this should be done later. These ones need to be done together. We're looking at redesigning the header. Because one of the issues is when the board gets completed and moved to the archive or moved to the asset, if you click back, it takes you to the archive and the asset, whichever one it is. And there's a whole list of all of them that are archived and asset. But that's not always where I want to go. Sometimes I just want to go back to my active systems. So we're looking at that. There's no search on the run at the moment. So we want to add that in. There's a couple of safety pieces where it's easy to get confused. I have to make videos right now. Hey, remember when you're using a template, it's in two places here. But to get some safety around that and have a pop-up and say, hey, you clicked this template. Did you want to edit the template or did you want to go to the version where you're working on it? And this is all possible from what I'm seeing, let alone the bigger questions that are coming through. And they're like, well, where's the integrations? And of course, where's the AI? I was hanging out with the guys that are going to do the videos for the marketing. Jeremy over at saleshumentary.com. Pretty epic videographer, makes boutique, amazing videos, very successful. And he was like, have you heard of agents? These AI agents? I'm like, what do you mean, like the Matrix? And he's like, no, yes and no, but yes. But this idea that we're getting the ability to have AIs that pull from multiple AIs. And he was like, have you thought about AI in Magic Boards? And I'm like, yeah, I've thought about it. What I could see was that it would be possible for me to define the results that I want, and then the AI would come up with the templates and the processes, and the whole board would be built out really quickly. And he's like, yeah, that's nice. Good work, Tom. Good work. But what I'm talking about is that I click run and it goes ahead and executes a lot of the work that needs to be done. I was like, what? Like in a marketing agency and I'm a new client and it builds out all of the copy and all of the ads and all of the avatar and all of the client journey and all of the products. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, all organized because of the solid structure that is Magic Boards. You see, if you're just using AI, we might get to a place where it's like, hey, it's just doing it all, and that's cool. If we're in that place, wonderful. We don't need Magic Boards anymore. We just have the AI. Hey, can you just build out the entire client's service protocol? And that might happen. Magic Boards falls away. But if that does happen, then we're faced with a much bigger problem. It's like, what do we all do now? What do we all do? But assuming that AI still needs some kind of structure, some kind of prompts, some kind of instructions to go through, that Magic Boards provides exactly that. It tells the AI what results are wanted. It tells them how to do it. Even if the AI has to create the process itself, that's totally fine. But the ability for this to happen within 15, 20 minutes, maybe sooner. The way all the tech's going with the NVIDIA and all the ARM processors that are getting better and better at this stuff, it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. But that, right now, that's not where I'm at. Right now, it's just proving that the structure works. You see, structure is such an interesting thing. This function of the software follows the structure. And Magic Boards limits the structure on purpose. Doesn't allow you to add 15 different columns and various different things. It's like, hey, if you need to do that, go do that work in Excel or go do that work in Google Sheets. But Magic Boards is designed for one thing, and that is tracking work. Where are you up to in business? What's getting done? What needs to get done? What's stuck? What can be improved? Who's on what? And the who's on what may well be AIs. We'll see an interesting synergy potentially between humans and AI. I can run 3 different versions of the entire client build out. It's like, hey, what do you want to do? You like this one? You like this one? You like this one? And the client's like, oh my goodness, number 2 speaking to me. let's go number 2. Like, great. Instead of hours of work to get to 1 done. So there could well be a significant strategic advantage around having this software. And we're at MVP right now. MVP, going to continue on this journey, get the feedback, prove that it works, and then continue to work with Bubble. I was looking at one of those videos that I got my team to transcribe, and it was around people that were using Bubble and AI agents. And what they said was that it got so intense on the back end that they needed to get away from Bubble's back end and use dedicated Google Cloud stuff. But they were like, you know what? We're still running this hybrid of Bubble plus custom backends from Google Clouds, and it was working great. So I'm excited. I don't know where this is all going. I had a great birthday. My family's doing well, and software's coming. And the outcome for this is to make work visible. That you as a business owner can see what's getting done, that you as a team member can see what's getting done, and that we start eliminating the problems and the difficulties of work with errors or work that we can't see, and begin to experience more of the actual benefits that we're after. Bills are paid, yes, and our family and our kids know that we're there to hang out with them. That's all I got for you today. I hope you got some value out of this. If you are interested in checking out Magic Boards, head over to magicboards.io. If you know someone struggling with seeing the work of their workplace and that they would benefit from the podcast, then go ahead and forward it to them. And I hope that you have a great week. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode as we continue discussing the challenges and difficulties of how to see work in the workplace. See you then. Thanks for joining us at the Visual Workplace. This is a notification that the information and ideas discussed here are general in nature and do not take into account your specific circumstances. You should seek specialist advice for any medical, financial, emotional, mental, or other difficulties that you are facing with appropriate specialists and professionals so that they can apply your specific circumstances and give you the required advice. Thank you for joining us, but this is also a notification that all information is indeed general in nature and not specific for your personal circumstances.